Hey there, everyone. It's Vicky, and I'm here for another YarnYAY exclusive event with, you can see below because I have the I have it set oddly. With my friend Amy from Knit Collage. I'm so happy to have be working with her again. Anytime we can figure out a way to work together, we do. And we cooked up this latest partnership at a conference. Well, actually, way before, but first of all, welcome. I normally bring people in later after I do a whole thing, but I realize we're already here. So this is what we're doing.
Yes, this is so awesome, Vicky. Thanks so much for having me. It's awesome to be here, and I'm excited to share a little bit about our collab, which feels like it's been in the works for a very long time. Like
at least 9 months. And for me, I mean, you ask my team, like I'll turn something around in 48 hours, like with a couple heart attacks. Like this was a long time coming. So
yeah,
the background for people that aren't familiar is that we have worked together on a box before. We had your boucle in a box in 2020, I believe. And we wanted to work together again. And it's really important to me to balance out the companies that I feature between sort of bigger independents that can, that are maybe a little bit easier to get to. Maybe the cost is a little bit lower, with one woman dye houses or small co-ops or more artisanal products, so that we can sort of all help each other rise. And it's my hope that we can deliver yarns that maybe people either don't have access to because they don't have a LYS, or they have budgetary concerns about because it's out of their comfort zone for what the price is. So we try to bring different batches, bite-sized batches, so they can really see that there is a reason to invest sometimes and not invest in other times. Like if you're making a toy for your kiddo, maybe not the time. But if you're making an heirloom for them, maybe it is, or even better for yourself, maybe it is. And so you and I have been kind of going back and forth and about how we could make it work for our monthly subscribers. And so that they could experience your yarns yet again. And it just happened that you were going to launch a new yarn. And so I want to talk about all of that, and I'll show everybody what we've done together. But before we go back into it, since we've been friends for so long, I always forget that maybe people don't know the story of Knit Collage. So if you would just sort of fill in the scoop for those that haven't seen you on the Knit Show, don't follow all of your amazing, your knit alongs, your make alongs, I think are just so well done. If you'll just sort of let them kind of fill people in on your background.
yeah. So I have owned this business for it's going to be 13 years in 2023. So that is crazy to me that we've because there's some crazy fact that's like 1% of every business makes it past a decade. So just the fact that we're still standing in this really small niche with this, you said, unique artsy yarn is pretty wild to me. So I'm trained, in my experience is as a sweater and accessory designer. And at some point down that path, I got a little burnt out by the whole fashion industry and fast fashion and just needing to design. And I wanted to do something totally different and take a break. So I quit my job and I tried to think of a way to get into this yarn world, make this yarn that I was spinning on my own wheel and bring it out into the world. So that's sort of how it all came to be. We spin our yarn in India, where I used to work quite a lot as a sweater designer. And it's the perfect place for us to make the yarn because there's such a rich history of textiles and color and making things. And they, for better or worse, they never say no to anything any crazy harebrained crazy idea that I cook up. So we're able to come up with these yarns that have things spun into them, all different colors and textures. I think I highlighted a yarn yesterday in our newsletter that has, I think, 10 colors hand carded into it. And you just can't achieve that on machine. There's just no way. It's like a rainbow in a yarn, and the way that the colors are spun together, they're going to be different every single time. So that's kind of the fun of it, and that's what makes it so special. And that's sort of how it came to be. I I designed a line of yarn, took them to the TNNA trade show where probably we met for the first time, I think. And
Probably, that
and
would make
like,
sense, yeah.
yeah, I think we met in DC. Remember that DC one? It was so cool. They had it in DC.
Yeah, that was during Pride. That was a long time ago, yeah.
That was right when my son Wiley was born. And I remember we went and had Mexican with Karen Strom, and it was really fun. And I didn't know you yet. And so yeah, I took the yarns to the TNNA. That was not my first one. It was probably like my, I don't know, sixth one. But the first one I went to, I got a small handful of orders, and I thought, oh my God, I'm in business. And that's
For people that don't
sort
know,
of how it all started.
TNA is, they no longer exist, was sort of our industry, was the industry show and organization. It was a trade organization for the non-corporate, non-mainstream side of the business, the independent side of the business. And so that was the place where, especially before the internet, not the internet as a whole, but especially before everybody had, online shops or at least a presence, it was where yarn stores would go to find the products that they were going to bring to their customers. And so it was a really important show. And then, everything has sort of changed. Obviously now because of the pandemic, it's changed even more, but it really became more of a networking event and less of a shopping event for a while. And it went through a lot of iterations. It never really panned out. And so it has shut down, but there's another show, H&H, that just came to the States, and that's where we cooked up our idea from here. The other thing I wanted to make sure that we also noted is that in India, where you have your yarns made, you've created a co-op that sustains a group of women. And that's my favorite part of your business is
well, I love what you said. I mean, when I think of you and your box and your business, and you say, when we help each other all up, we all rise up, right? All, like, what is the saying?
Rising tides raise all boats.
That's how I think of you. And when I was looking at your box, and Tony and whoever makes that really cool container, I was reading about all the artists that you collaborate with. It's just amazing that you're able to support all of these folks through this subscription box, not just the big companies who also, it's good to support them too, but to support all of the little artisans like us and others that are doing cool work in the world is amazing.
Well, if you do it right, you work with both, so everybody can. In fact, I just gave a talk about this in a boardroom about how the bigger companies need to give money to the smaller companies so that one can get indie street cred and the other can get backing. And that's really because we have such a unique industry. We're completely community based. Without our community, we wouldn't have an industry, and so we need to work differently. You've done a brilliant job at that. You've worked with big box companies and tiny companies and had your stuff featured in boutiques and larger stores like Anthropologie and Free People. You've really done such a beautiful job at that. Most of your yarns have been thick and chunky and glorious. And that's sort of been your home. But recently you came out with your very first light, which isn't the yarn standard definition of light. It's not it's not a fingering weight, but it's very light. One of my tech editors was like, beep, 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 like this is not a light. I was like, stop taking it literally. It is like,
it's because, well, it's called Spun Cloud Light, and we have the original Spun Cloud, which is very bulky. So in comparison to that yarn,
I got it. It was just funny that it was like, can we call
that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
We can call it
a good point.
like, we can. But it's so worsted weight. It's beautiful. So first, we'll talk a little bit more about our color and our thing, but I would love if you would just talk about what made you decide to do a worsted weight yarn, how you chose out of all of your yarns, which one to go lighter with, and just sort of take us through the process of it.
Yeah, so it's been percolating for a long time, and a lot of community members have asked us over the years for a lighter weight yarn. So We get it all the time, mostly from the people in warmer climates, but not always. And I knew we needed to come up with something. I also think, personally, I started as a beginner knitter, like everybody, right? And when you're a beginner, you tend to gravitate towards the chunkier yarns and the thicker yarns, and even novelty yarns too, because you don't have to do much with them to make them look fancy and fun. And so I think part of it, of coming up with a smaller gauge yarn, is just the evolution of me also becoming a better, more advanced knitter and wanting to do trickier things, different things with the yarn than just always, garter stitch scarf or cowl or whatever that might be.
When
So
you
I think it's
when you were designing sweaters for companies,
yep.
it's not the same as being what we call in our industry like a knitwear designer. Like, the job looked a little bit different. So just because you were designing, sweaters for free people, that doesn't necessarily mean that your knitting skills were advanced, right?
No, when I went to my first TNNA, I have never followed a pattern ever. And people, the yarn store buyers kept asking me, where are the patterns for this yarn? And I was like, well, it's in your head. You just, if if you're a designer, you know what to knit. Cause like, you're just gonna, I was so thrown off. And now I cringe at that, that whole thing. That
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that
I'm sure Karen was there, but she's got some good stories to tell, I bet. But yeah, I didn't understand. So when I worked as a sweater designer, it was more like a sketch, a swatch, and instructions, like add a 2x2 rib here, this is the gauge, this is the stitch, these are the specs. But you're not actually writing a pattern, like cast on 30 stitches,
You're
knit
not
for,
figuring out how to make all the pieces work together. You're just coming up with the look of what the pieces will be.
right? The factory is figuring out that pattern.
That actually kind of sounds delightful.
It's pretty easy in comparison.
That's actually kind of a dream.
There's the great tool. So like, okay, size medium is 2 inches bigger, and that's all you had to do. You didn't have to think of do the math behind it all. It was pretty easy.
That makes me a little misty thinking about that being an option. So you were a beginner, you worked with bigger yarns, a bunch of people asked you, after you established your company, you were getting a lot of requests for a lighter weight yarn. Then what happened?
Yeah, so that's sort of how this came to be. We went through a lot of experimentation trying to figure out what the yarn would be. I had an old sweater from back in my Free People days that looked a lot like Cloud Light, and it ended up being very similar to that. And I wore that sweater all the time. It was my favorite, bright purple, and the yarn ended up being really, really similar to that machine-made sweater. So Spun Cloud is our best-selling yarn, so it felt like a good next step to make that our light yarn. So it has a little bit of lurex in it. It has a little bit of sparkle. And that's one thing people are already asking me, like, when's the non-sparkle version going to come out? So maybe someday we'll do that, but I like sparkle.
Well, and right now sparkle's back in. It was a tough sell for a minute. I remember I had a very similar looking yarn, not same in content, but I don't think I knew you when I had a yarn through Southwest Trading Company. It was a soy yarn, so it was totally different, but it looked very similar because it had like the sparkle around it. In fact, I think I sent you patterns that you can use for this. It's the same gauge, everything. Anyway,
yeah.
It's called Vegas, and I loved it. And I remember Steve Elkins from Webb's was like, yeah, I'm not buying it. There's sparkle. I'm not buying any glitter yarns. But I was like, but it's me. And he was like, I'm not, I mean, this was, 15 years ago. It was it's a different time, but for people that aren't into sparkle, it's a tough sell. But what is not tough about Spun Cloud either way is that it's not an overpowering. In fact, it's sometimes like we have to work to photograph it to get it to see. It just kind of gives just a little kind of almost effervescence to your garments more than, razzle dazzle.
Really subtle. I don't think you could probably even see it in this.
No,
It's really, really subtle. So it's not overpowering at all. And it's not overpowering in the Spun Cloud Light either, but it does add an interesting texture because it's plied around the yarns. So it adds a little bit of texture to the yarn, which is fun.
Like a thick and thin. So if you didn't do a sparkle, you would have to do
Yeah, you would have to
some
do
form of
some thread.
thread, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
I mean, it might be fun
So
to play with some different, with a bamboo or a cotton or something that would take the dye completely differently, you know?
yeah, that would be really cool. Maybe for fall next year, we'll do something along those lines. Yeah, that would be really cool. And I always think, what would like I need more gender neutral yarns too. Like I've never knit something for my husband or my boys in our yarns, and it would be really nice to have more options that are just, kind of gender neutral. Anybody can wear this, whatever. So that's on my mind also.
I mean, I think also, hopefully, genders are being redefined right now, and also what is becoming gender norm as far, especially in fashion. In fashion, it's happening more than it is in any place else. So, a lot of you have a lot of neutrals too, for people that aren't
Yeah.
afraid to sort of step out of the stereotypical. But yeah, I think probably the sparkle is something that's difficult for a lot of people that at least present masculine. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it would be really, that would be really interesting. And I think it would, if you did end up going with a, you know, hemp or a bamboo or something, it fits so well with your aesthetic.
Yeah. I love that idea. I think it would be so cool if they did take the dye differently. I love that. That's a
Yeah,
really awesome
yeah, they
idea.
would for sure. What is the process for making the light any different than making the chunkier version?
Is so this yarn is machine made, so it's different than all of our other yarns that are hand spun. Well, the Serenity is also um, machine made. We went through a lot of development trying to figure out if we could do it hand spun, and the machine made version was just so much lighter and better and less expensive. I know it's still an expensive artisan yarn, but what we realized is with the thinner yarn is a lot of time spinning because there's so much more yardage that you have to spin.
Oh, right.
And it was going to be really labor intensive, way more than even our yarns with all the trims and things. So it is machine made actually. And there was like
Machines
about a
in
year
house?
long. No, we have a mill down the street from us that we work with that I visited. I have a whole blog post. If anybody's interested, I can share it. I went to the mill when I was there on my last trip, or maybe I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been to India because of COVID, and it's amazing. It's where we get all of our top fiber from. We don't do the dyeing in house, so all that happens there. And then we get for the hand spun yarns, we get all the dyed top, and then that's where we do all the carding for like that yarn I was telling you about earlier.
How did you, so historically you've been in India at least a couple times a year to, really sort of work with all of the women and really be involved. What did it look like during COVID when you're half a world away? But the demand in
Yeah.
our industry was higher because people were actually home to make things. What did it look like for the design process? Were you able to continue to design new products, or did you just lean into promoting your existing?
It was really hard. So I actually went in February 22, right before COVID. So that was pretty good timing, but that's the last time I've been. And part of the reason I haven't been now is because of my baby. So just kind of in the weeds with the little one.
Yeah.
But what I asked Monica, who runs everything there, to do is to send me one of every fiber color, which is like 60 fiber colors we stock in house, one of every trim, which is like, I don't even know how many, but it's so many trims, not one of every. She sent me like a bag of every, and then she sent me 5 kg of every fiber color. And then she sent me about a yard of every fabric we use for the wildflower yarn, because I actually use that fabric a lot within the yarns too. It's cut into strips and then used as a trim within the yarn. So we're very resourceful about how we use all the ingredients. And I have a little hallway over here, and I just laid one of everything out of all these trims, all these fiber colors in rainbow order. And what I would typically do when I'm there, I did at home, and I've gotten in that habit, but it's a lot harder because the process takes much longer. Let's say I come up with the first sample. And when I'm there, I can say, okay, spin this right away. Here's my recipe, just write it down. Here it is right away. I can get it back. It's not exactly how I like it, make some tweaks, do it. And then within an hour, we've got an awesome yarn that we've designed together. Also, when you're there in person, there's a lot of like mistakes and weird things that happen on the wheel that I am not privy to anymore, that they might not send to me because they're like, oh, that doesn't look like what Amy asked for. But actually, I might think it's the coolest thing in the world and could be a whole different yarn. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that isn't happening, which is kind of, that's a sad thing. So the process takes a lot more time because there's a lot more shipping back and forth. So it's been hard. One thing that has helped is I have a new person on my team, Melanie, who's in charge of our inventory and our design calendar. And I'm sure she told you, we need to order this yarn by this day. If you want to do a special collaboration yarn, it has to be this day or else you can't get it.
I had to order it in like 1942. I had to try and travel backwards to order it.
Like, I get emails all the time from people and they're like, when are you gonna have that one color back in stock? I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
Because not only does the yarn take a long time to make, it's also shipped by sea. So there's quite a long time in transit as well. So it's a really long lead time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love for people to see some more colors, but first let me share our color.
Absolutely.
There was a little bit of a serendipitous situation with this box because we had some supply chain issues, as everybody is experiencing right now, and ours were with our physical boxes. For people that don't know, anytime that gas and oil prices go up, it directly affects the paper industry. And this has sort of been building up and building up and building up. And so there are all kinds of challenges about not being able to get paper, and then there's also the financial stuff where people can't order as much. So our boxes, we found out after they were supposed to ship that they couldn't fulfill the order. So we needed to make a decision. We found out a day after. Did I not?
Okay, you didn't tell me it was that crazy.
Oh, I didn't tell you. Okay, so
you told me about the new box, but not like the whole backstory.
This is how this went down, and some of you who are watching have already heard this story, so go get a drink. But we found out we order usually a quarter's worth of boxes at a time because that's really all we can house here because we don't have a warehouse. It's just this vintage house that we're in, and so we placed the order, a few weeks before, and they emailed us the day after the finished boxes were supposed to have already shipped and said they couldn't fulfill it. So, and when you have a monthly business, like 3 weeks is a full cycle. So that was not ideal. So we had to hustle, and I don't know. I think maybe if I had been working with a different yarn partner, I might have been okay with stickers and white boxes. But it just made me sad to think about doing that with your yarn. Like, your yarn's so special and artisanal, and I wanted it to look like it belonged in a boutique. And so instead of the aqua boxes that we've done for 5 years, with the exception of making them coral one summer, but like the boxes that have looked the same, I just was like, you know what? Like, let's just go with this. Let's just make it really special. Let's make the whole thing special. So I just went in and designed a box that needed to be both sort of say November, and also say your brand, and you do flowers, fresh flowers everywhere. So I chose sort of a darker, palette for autumn, but then with your beautiful yarn, and I just decided to go with it. And
It's so beautiful, Vicki.
It was definitely like one of those like gulp before you make the order, because it was a cost, but I'm so happy with it, and I just think it makes the whole experience so much more special. So
for all your that in the mail. I think it's so fun for your subscribers to get something totally different in the mail this month. Like, what a fun surprise!
Well,
it's so cool that when you get it too. It's not like you should even open it. You're like, oh, this is my box.
Let it sit there. And it's also it's gift giving time too. So things need to be a little more special for November and December at least. I just wanted it to feel that way. So we did that. So that's the box. So this is a This is an Amy Small original, like you only get it this one time. And then we got to create our own color, and I love it so much. We named it Juniper, which is actually obviously a green, but also is the name of my friend's daughter. So we named it Juniper, and it is just, it's this beautiful kind of jade spearmint green with a little tiny bit of gold sparkle. And I just love it. It's so pretty. It's just as perfect for the holidays as it will be for spring. And right now it's exclusive to us. We'll see what happens in the future, but right now it's ours.
I mean, you spoke about our lead time, so even if we decide to bring that in, it would be like 2 years from now. So
that's fair.
it is.
We did a special put up so that, you know, it could work within our budgets. For our boxes are very affordable. They're only $38 for the box. So we did a special put up, and we always design, this is our challenge monthly, to design with the exact amount of yardage to give these tests. So we did it. We did these really cute mitts. So this is the knit version.
They're amazing, Vicky.
And we have the pattern written. So this takes one hank, but I wrote the pattern so that there's also a longer version. If people want to get an additional half hank, you have to subscribe to the box to have access to more hanks, though, just so you know. So it's the November YarnYAY box. And then Tony, do you know Tony Lipsy?
Of course.
Okay. All right. I thought you would. So she's our designer in residence through the end of the year. And so she did the crochet version. And these are just a project that you could make for everybody that you know for the holidays. It's just such a great go-to gift. And that's
so special.
That's what I love.
So special.
Super. Yeah. And with the sparkle, so I did cables just because I wanted to play with the texture, but this is just plain double crochet, but they look so special because of the texture of the yarn and the sparkle. And these have also been written with a longer version as well. And so you get that, you get this like Mongo booklet with all of the charts and the pictures. And then I put in every booklet, I make sure to write blurbs about all the people that you're supporting by supporting YarnYAY. And then because you had the sparkle, I just went with it. So we found these. Okay. Have you ever been to Dry Goods in Seattle? Unfortunately, they're closed now, but they were a fabric store.
I remember the owner from the TNNA.
So
what was her name?
I don't remember, but it was beautiful.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
It was my favorite in Seattle. And I found these, but there was no brand or anything. I found these there, and it took me 6 months. Well, it's not me, but the guy that I work with that hunts down these things, 6 months to find them, the rose gold version of a sewing kit. So just
so good.
You know, because
that is just so next level. I couldn't believe how big it was. Like there's so much in there.
All kinds of stuff in there. I know and it, you know, a little shine never hurt.
It's for travel too.
Yeah, it's perfect for traveling. And also even if you're not a sewist, if you knit and crochet, there is going to be a time where you have to add a button or line a bag or, measure something or whatever. So those, and then I worked with Laura Hand Knits to get matching rose gold little bulb pins. I could never have too many of those. And so, so we went with the shine. So those are available now, and you can get them at yarnyay.com. So that is our color. And I've actually been playing around with our color with some of your colors, but I would love it if you would show people some of the other colors.
Yes, so I'm going to show you, let me show you the sweater that I'm working on, which is for our knit along. And I could try it on, or I could just show you. There's some ends, but this is the one I'm working on right now.
Oh, Amy, that's amazing.
I feel like this would be cool in like your colors, because it'd probably be more sophisticated and like edgy and like a Vicky combo.
Oh no, I love that. That's super vintage looking.
Yeah.
And it's got the patchwork look. Patchwork coats are so in right now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I'm super into it. It fits really well. It's got a cute sleeve length. It's sort of the bracelet, like a hair shorter than long sleeve.
Is that pattern available now?
So this is part of our knit along, so it's not available now.
Okay, so you have to sign up, and then got it.
You have to sign up for a knit along, which we might open it up again in November. We did that last May, and that was really fun. we might do it. I haven't, been so busy. I haven't gotten that far. If people are interested, they can send me an email.
I want to
This is
show,
this.
I want to show Becky, who's my assistant maker. Look at this, look at this.
Let's
Isn't it
go with some of
glorious?
It's beautiful.
Oh,
I really like the sleeve.
I love it.
It's so
We would
Sure.
read it.
And
Yeah.
it comes with, like, you could add fringe to it, but I don't think I'm going to do the fringe because it's just a lot for everyday wear. But the
Yeah.
fringe one is super fabulous for New Year's Eve and probably for Austin, Texas. But
It's definitely that
really
way.
Is it just rows of squares, or is there some?
yeah, so it's these starburst squares, and then you join them all together into vertical strips,
Yeah.
and just seam them. And depending on which
project.
size,
Yeah.
depending on which size you're knitting or crocheting, you add more width between
How you do it.
the
I know, we
vertical
like that.
That's
strips.
how you do it. Yeah.
So grading it was really hard because
Yeah, because
we didn't want you like
Right.
it's kind of like geometry.
Right, because you would have
You have
to,
9
you can't just
sizes.
add a square because you would be adding like 16 inches.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
like 32
It's
inches.
9
or whatever.
sizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Wow.
really intense. Yeah, but we have it tested
But
all of
adding
these.
some DCs or something, that's really smart. I love it.
Yeah, that worked really well. And you
I
can
know, I
see
feel like
here,
it's
that's what
Is that a make along or is it a kit or a pattern?
It's a
or-
make
is a make along. Yeah, we might redo it, but we actually don't have that much yarn left, so we might just leave it till the spring. But people can email me if they're really interested. So I
Okay.
wanted to show you this so that you could see some of the other colors, because I'm gonna make another one that's like your grandma's attic, whatever, all the colors together.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So it's gonna be like, it's gonna be everything.
It's glorious. Oh,
And I don't know if you got all of them. I think you did. So I'm gonna try and do like this kind of patch, like true patchwork, where the main color is not as obvious. So I'm very
Yeah.
excited about that at the
are
moment.
you doing, will that be knit or crochet? Sorry, we're getting a delivery simultaneously. So that's what all that ruckus is.
It's going to be the same as this. It's just going to be the same, but instead of like you see the main color.
Oh, you're
it's
just gonna do all of it. Like, yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
we
it.
have a lot of
It's gonna look like
small
it
balls.
belongs on a grandmother's couch. I love it. Can't wait.
It's gonna be so. We had a couple affiliates that are doing, 2 affiliates that are doing just like this combo, and it's gonna be amazing and
Oh,
so
yeah.
sophisticated. And I like envy people that can just go with something so
Is
like
that a
city.
olive? I'm gonna show you
It's-
something.
It's mustard, but like that's something I could never
So we did this patchwork shrug,
Oh my God.
and it's
I
the
love
same
that.
colors, but it's the patchwork.
Oh, I love
situation.
that. Yeah,
But
see, I wish I had the like, I don't know, like the ability to choose that cool, like very pared down combo, but this is what I always
I
end
like
up.
that. I love it. I love it. In fact, I would love a crazy wackadoo version of, like, this is all just mitered squares that you pick up and knit as you go, so you don't seam it. So that would be, if that's a great type of pattern to use, all different kinds of colors. Just kind of pick, like, don't even look, just grab.
That's what I was gonna do, is just wind them all, see what happens. And yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm newer to crochet. I know you're not, but for me, it's just been so fun to get into crochet and do these very addictive squares. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's been good.
It would be
This is the
super
other
easy to convert that into a shrug too, what you're wearing. It would be it would be
Yeah, because it's so easy. You could just
see the
make your
strips. Yeah.
yeah, you could just totally make them
Or a little
shorter.
bolero, you could crop it. Ooh, that would be cute.
You could also make it like floor length, which would be amazing too.
Yeah. All right,
So
sorry, you
this
were trying to show me something.
Yeah, this is just a free pattern on our site if people
I
wanted
love
like
that. It just has little, is it one
Yeah.
yarn? Or did you
No,
add
yeah, it's
squiggles to
one
it?
yarn, and I use stash to add some kind of whip stitching embroidery. So yeah, I can't help myself. I'm not good at knitting just plain sophisticated
It's in your mind.
I know. It's probably why I do what I do. And then so you could wear it, sorry for all the ends, but you could wear it without it being rolled up and just be super slouchy too and do stripes. So that's
I
this
love it.
one. I don't have a ton of patterns in this yarn yet. It's really new. So I have the hat. This is the other sweater that was part of our knit along.
Cute.
So this is the other one. So we have 2 sweaters and that for now. So
Are those
Or-
bauble
or-
flowers?
no, they are.
Oh, that's intarsia. Okay, it's because of the thick and thin. Very
Color work. Yeah, it's color work. Yeah.
Very
And I have another combo on the needles that I'm very excited about that has like a little pop of neon in the tipping. So very excited about that.
I love it. Well, I'm just so excited about all of it, and I'm bummed that I did not get in on your advent. I waited too long, so I'm excited to see everybody. Becky ordered one, so I'm excited to sort of like watch. We're in the background, they're packing our advent. Our advent's being packed right now, so this is like that crazy time where we're all doing this. But I just love it. It's so pretty, and I appreciate that you were willing to be a part of the box again. So thank you.
Much for supporting us. We so appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
And we can't leave without doing a giveaway, right? You've been super gracious to provide a couple things for a giveaway. So why don't you tell folks what they can win, and then I will tell them how.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I have one in my bin back here, is 2 mini skein sampler kits. So within these kits, you get 5 mini skeins, and each of the mini skeins are a different one of our yarns. So it's a wonderful way to try out our yarns if you've never tried any of them before and see which ones you like. We've got free patterns, free hat patterns, free cowl patterns on how, what to knit with one of them if you just wanted to use them all in one pattern. It's a fun way to just experiment with what we do. And I think we have around 8 combos. It might even be more available. So it's up to you to decide which colorway you want. They're all in stock and they're all really different.
Oh, that's a delight, a delight. So to enter to win one of these amazing little bundles, all you need to do is go to knitcollage.com and grab a link to something that you think is beautiful and love, that inspires you, like what Amy's holding up right now, and then just post it in the comment section of this video. We will pick a winner. You just need to do it before 11:59 p.m. Central on November 16th. We'll pick 2 winners, and then we will we'll get the names to you, and then we'll get the yarn out to folks. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, friend. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you soon in Austin. Yeah, pretty soon. So, all right. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Bye.